Good morning. This is Bob Connors, Chair of the Newbury Municipal Building Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Martha Taylor,
Yes.
John Keller,
Yes.
Dana Packer,
Yes.
Jeff Shaw,
Yeah.
and Eric Svan.
Here.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning.
Morning.
The open meeting of this open meeting of the Newbury Municipal Building Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, extended until March 31st, 2023, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. As such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you will find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allow public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Please note this meeting is being recorded and that attendees are participating by video conference. All right, let me get rid of that thing.
And just a note, all votes will be roll call votes.
Okay. All right, now let me get into the, all right. Team, I sent out a revised meeting packet this morning. There were a couple of updates that came in. They were, one was further revisions to the OPM RFQ and the issuance of a purchase order with attachments for the borings for 25 High Road. All right, so let's go to tab 1. Okay, meeting minutes. These are meeting minutes for the December 13th meeting. Why don't we review these? And if there's any questions or concerns, just let me know.
I wasn't there, but I have 2 edits, if I may.
Certainly, Martha.
At the very end, citizen comments, Jack Rybicki's name should be Rybicki as opposed to Bioki. And under Jim Moran's comments, it should be square footage instead of squared footage.
Okay, any other comments or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Roll call vote. Martha?
I have to abstain since I wasn't there.
Okay, John Keller.
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes as well. All right, moving on to tab 2. So on tab 2, we have a communication from John Lemieux of Vertex, and like many other businesses within the Commonwealth of the states, his current workload and staffing levels precludes him from working with us on the town hall. So he's taken a pass on that. We've been working with Martha, Tracy, and Lisa Mead on updating the RFQ that was basically used for the police station. And Martha, why don't I let you comment on this, where you've been involved in this one?
Sure. So basically what I did was I took the RFQ that we had prepared for the OPM for the police station project and updated it. And it will need to be updated further with dates and stuff. but updated it to make it project specific. There are a couple of things in here, like whether there was language regarding CM at risk, whether we want to include that or not, or just, immediately assume it's going to be design, bid, build. And Lisa Mead and Ben Taylor in her office had added some language regarding clerk of the works. I would suggest this was a first pass, and so I would suggest that it probably needs one more round of edits, and just make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed before it goes out to publicly to get the qualifications. I do, at the appropriate time, I do have suggestion for how we might put this out. But anyway, that's
Okay.
it for now.
Yeah, I think
Well,
the,
can I ask a question?
yeah, certainly, Dana.
I'm sorry to back up, but the letter from John Lemieux, is he a project manager? Is that what his role is going to be?
Well, he is the principal, or one of the principals for Vertex, which was the previous OPM company
Okay,
that did the police station.
gotcha.
And as we if Vertex was available and we decided to continue using them, we could have done a contract amendment versus going back out for.
Right. I just wasn't sure who he was. That's
Yep.
why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Go ahead,
good
Martha, I'm
question.
sorry.
Good question. So I think the big thing this time around, guys, is that we're looking for a combined OPM clerk of the works. Those familiar with the process, clerk of the work puts in 40 hours a week. The OPM usually is about 1 day a week when we're having project meetings. I think due to the size of this project and the lack of complexity, getting a good qualified clerk of the works, I think they can wear both hats. And Lisa Mead made that change. So in talking to Tracy, I think a lot of what's left is really going to be up to procurement and really the town chief procurement officer to kind of clean up with dates and what have you. And we're not going to be doing a CM at risk.
So we could take that language out.
Yeah, I would take that out. That's.
Yeah, we wanted to keep that open-ended last time. Obviously, we didn't do it, but yeah. So I'll delete that in the next revision.
Okay. And I think beyond that, is there anything else, Eric? I know that you spent some time looking at this. I apologize, you didn't get the most recent edit. So I'm not sure what overlap.
No, I understand the process from Martha and was part of creating the last one. So format's all there. The process is all written out. So we just need to get the edits and get it out the door to get it out to the public to solicit responses, and then we're on our way.
Yep, no, I couldn't agree more. So here's what I'm going to suggest. I think this draft captures the intent of what the committee is seeking for an OPM, a clerk of the work service. What I'm going to suggest is that the final edits and insertion, having trouble today. Excuse me while I have a sip of coffee here. Inclusion of all the appropriate dates is really more at the procurement level. What I would ask is we consider recommending this current draft with final edits by procurement, and send a final copy out to us prior to posting, and we can respond by email individually. I think at this point it's really more procurement. What's our thoughts on that? Why don't we start, Martha?
Yeah, I mean, what I'd like to suggest, if it's acceptable to the committee, is that Tracy and town council and I work on the final version, get the edits done, and then get it ready to go out. I've got the master copy, so that's why I'm suggesting that.
Okay.
that
So is that a motion, Martha?
I can't really make a motion, but it's a suggestion.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the current draft, subject to final review by Martha Taylor, Town Procurement, Tracy Blaze, and Town Council?
Make a motion that we accept that and go forward.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote. Martha,
Yeah,
John Keller,
Yes,
Dana,
Yes,
Eric,
yes.
and the chair votes yes. Jeff Shaw, you're on the line. Jeff, any comments on the approach we're considering?
I think that makes perfect sense.
Okay, great. All right, why don't we turn to tab 3.
excuse me, Bob, do you want to have any discussion about how this goes out, or do you want to leave that to Tracy and Lisa and me?
Yeah, I think there was some comments about what was the one, what was it?
There's
Project Dog.
Project, we used
Yeah.
Project Dog for our Parker Street Trail project, the bids on that. They also do handle RFQs.
Okay,
I was in touch with their project person maybe a month or so ago, a little bit more. And it was a very seamless, painless process.
Mhm.
If we have any addenda or anything like that, they handle all of that. They compile everything, and then they will, we will take the the final proposals that come in and do our process. But it worked very well for that. So if the committee is open to that, I would suggest that we consider it again.
yeah, I mean, I think that's really a procurement decision. As long as we're compliant, and I think everyone realizes time is of the essence. So,
Right, and they're very quick. So if we do that, we need to get it on combis and then the central register and the ad in the daily news, and it kind of takes some of the burden of this off of Julie. So I have discussed it with Tracy, but I will confirm that she feels, if the committee is in agreement, I'll confirm that she feels that this would be a way to go.
I mean, I think we've given you, Tracy, and Lisa the green light to finish this up and get it into public register and bid in a fashion you see fit, as long as it's compliant with the law. That's all we care about.
Okay.
All right. Okay. That's my thoughts on that. John Keller, what are your thoughts on that? I don't want to just. Are you okay with
There we
that?
go, there we go.
Makes sense?
Yeah, I like the idea of Project Dog, and I'm familiar with them. In fact, they're in Newburyport. And I think it's a great seamless process for us and everybody. And I would endorse it.
Okay. Dana, any comments on this?
no,
Okay, thank you, Dana. Eric, any comments? Okay. Jeff,
Just lost Eric.
okay. Jeff Shaw, any suggestions on this? Obviously you're doing this on a weekly basis. Any suggestions for Martha or Tracy on publishing this RFQ?
No, I think it's a good plan. I just, we work with a bunch of OPMs, so I just tend to know who's out there and available. I did have a conversation with Vertex the other day, not about this project, but about something completely different. And they shared with me that they had lost one of their senior people. He was recruited away to another CM firm, which I was kind of like, why would you ever want to do that, Bob? But anyways, so I suspect that's a big reason why they just didn't have the capacity to do it. But I know there are other OPMs that are looking for work, so you should be able to find somebody good.
Yeah, I think Again, the complexity of a town hall is certainly not as involved as other
Yeah.
projects, but. All right, if we turn to tab 3. All right, this was. Okay, so Jeff, I'm under the impression that the town has, since you're here working for us, the town has executed your contract for the phase 2 portion of this.
Yep, we got a signed contract back from Tracy. I think that was just before Christmas.
Okay. All right, well, why don't you give us, why don't you, we have a project schedule that certainly we're gonna have to update. And I'll send that, the older version out to you so we can update that. Have you review it and update the steps on it. Where are you at and what do you need? What are the next steps for the committee to assist you in the schematic design phase?
I guess what I was looking for at this point, what we've done to date is we just started putting the original sketches that we had before, starting to build a computer model of that. So we can
Okay.
actually start making real floor plans and building elevations, things like that. What we hadn't resolved was, really was the translation of the needs into the space. And I think we keep coming at it from 2 different perspectives and in terms of the folks involved in the process to date. And, we have a building envelope, I think of roughly 10,000 square feet plus an attic that we want to stick to. And we have program requirements and needs that, we never really did a full program for this. We did a version of a program, but we didn't define the definitive version of the program. So the program keeps shifting as we find it fits into this building footprint. And I think what I'd like to do is get more clarity on that we have what we need for town offices. And Bob, as you know, we've done numerous sort of cycles of this.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
like to get to the point where we resolve that, that everybody's comfortable, we got what we need, because what we need to do to get you what you need for town meeting is we really have to push hard to get to a cost estimate, which means we need to, get away from deciding about sizes of spaces and actually, design the building. So what I was hoping to do is put together another version of a floor plan and send that out to your committee, Martha and Tracy, and try to get buy-in that at least it's headed in the right direction, or there's a list of changes that need to be made to make it workable for the town offices. And I'm going to take your suggestions that you gave us, Bob, and the original, I'd say the latest version of the sketch plans that we had before, and combine that into something that we think is meeting the requirements. But I'd like to get that in your hands soon so that we can get some clarity and definition to that exercise of the programming and kind of close the book on that.
Okay, I mean, I think do you want us to affirm that what an office size, the standard office size is going to be, what a shared office size is going to be, and obviously a cube? Would that be helpful that you get that directly from the committee at this point?
I'd leave that in your hands. I would say that what I believe I have as direction is the overall size of the building.
Okay,
And the overall size of the building just dictates the overall budget. And it's totally up to you if you want to prescribe office sizes. I'm very comfortable with that, but I also know that Martha and Tracy have an understanding of exactly what the needs are. If we're working within the 10,000, it's just how you slice the pie rather than exactly how big things end up being.
I mean, I think it would be beneficial to have parameters, knowing that there's always an exception to whatever parameters we establish.
Yep.
So
I wouldn't.
And I'll start this off. You know, the office sizes of yesterday are certainly different than the office sizes of today. In my perspective, department heads, single offices are in the 120 square foot range. Now, there'll be certain end of the hallway locations where that can be expanded simply because you've got the width of the hallway going into the end office. So department heads would be in offices of 120 square feet. Admin or part-time staff would be in the equivalent of 64 square foot cube. If you have a shared office where you have two people, you're in the 180 range for a shared office. And a cubicle is 64 square feet, 8 by 8. And that's, I mean, that's kind of the real world where we're at today, and what I'm seeing in other communities, and certainly in public and institutional environments. Jeff, I think you've kind of confirmed that with some of the other bigger projects that you've been doing. And I think, was it North Andover was the last project you did where they had that whole open bullpen concept?
Yeah, that's the last built project that we have. We have a number that were in process design wise now, but
Okay.
that's the last one you can go see that has that concept.
Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Eric, what are your thoughts on setting parameters on size?
Well, I think you both said it, is that you'd like some guidelines in which that we're working towards so that we have some controls, and then it's a matter of the layout and how best that accommodates and creates, you know, the right spaces and better spaces for what we need. So, I mean, Jeff needs a starting point, right? He needs, and then he needs to lay it out, and then there's locations and synergies and efficiencies that will come out of the layout.
Are you okay with having the baselines as I just mentioned as a starting point?
As a starting point, yes. And that starting point, and plus the size of the footprint that was given to Jeff or his working orders in which to, you know, prove out what can be done for the direction that we're giving him. We got to get him some directions. So got to start somewhere. So yes.
Okay. John Keller, your thoughts?
I would just mimic what Eric said and Jeff said. But it's really important that we take the extra time right now to get this right, so that we're not regretting later on in the job we should have done something different.
Okay. Dana, what are your thoughts?
I guess the two basic layout concepts that we've been looking at, have we really nailed down which of those we're going to go with? And have we talked to people that, you know, work in the town hall that, you know, may agree or disagree with what the basic layouts? And we you know, I want to use the term bullpen. It's not my term, but, you know, the bullpen versus individual offices. Have we nailed that down? Because I think that's something important that Jeff needs to know before he gets started. And I don't want to surprise the people that actually work there and have them say, well, this isn't what we were expecting at all. So
Yeah.
that's all I have.
So I think that Jeff is looking at more the open concept, because that's what the committee decided. We talked about that when we looked at both layouts. And, you know, at the end of the day, guys, this is taxpayers' money that we're spending. And we need to conform to what the industry standards are today. And everyone adapts. We adapted when we moved out of 25 High Road and we went over to Kent Way. And employees will adapt when they move back to Town Hall, if in fact town meeting decides they want to make an investment in this project. I'm just always cognizant of the fact that town meeting is looking for an efficient project And just similar to what we cannot go through the 3 years of what we did with the fire at the police station. This has to be a one and done presentation. And it just needs to be the most cost-effective, efficient approach that meets our current needs without any extravagances whatsoever. But
Bob, I can add a little bit to this, to Dana's question specifically. The first few approaches that were taken for our town hall designed the building and layouts from what I call a bottom-up strategy. We took what, you know, everybody, well, I should say everybody, but really coming from Martha and Tracy, what they felt really were, you know, the ideal needs, and laid out floor plans for the building. And in those first few iterations, we designed a building that was 17,000 square feet, I think, and then 15 or 12,000. And then we, you know, each time we did it, we kept getting a number that was probably going to be more, at least from my understanding, than what you as a committee felt that you'd be able to sell essentially at a town meeting.
Mhm.
So eventually we got to a point where we had to turn it around and do it from the top down. And essentially we were told that a total building square footage of approximately 10,000 square feet was probably the maximum that wanted to get brought to town meeting. And so our job at this point is to develop a floor plan that works with that overall number. So that, as Bob said, we have to do things like, you know, changing probably how staff currently work a little bit in terms of whether they get a bigger office or as big an office, or if they have to be sharing more space together, finding ways to be mindful of the total square footage and finding opportunities to be inventive as how things are shared in the building. So that's been our most recent approach to the project. We've also talked about using the attic space for some of the storage needs, so it doesn't take up more valuable square footage in the main floor and the second floor. So just as Bob said, if this approach is successful, sort of top-down approach, it will mean a change, I think, to how staff work in their spaces, and but hopefully it will be designed in such a way that it works. It just might be a little different than what they're used to. So to your point, I think that there might be some people, if you showed them the drawings, they'd be like, well, this is totally different than what I was expecting it to be.
Or what I'm used to right now. I think the big thing, Jeff, is we have a range of a building in that 10,000 square feet. But I think if we adhere to the office size, shared office size, and cube size, and the space is X, we're not going to go below those minimums. And then certainly there will be certain offices that we will need to be bigger than, you know, 120 square feet. But they're not all going to be bigger than 120 square feet, because we might as well stop the process now if that's the direction we're going, because the cost will be too high. And certainly I think the big thing people have to understand is the grossing factor. 120 square foot office plus 30%. No, that's the impact. So, all right, Martha, I'm sorry, I haven't got your comments yet.
That's all right.
And I can guess what they're going to be.
Well, at this point, I mean, Tracy and I were charged last October by the select board to develop the space needs program, and we've done that. You know, recognize that has resulted in a larger building than you know what the committee feels is going to be appropriate to put forward to town meeting. So I would like to say that you know, as Bob just said, there are some offices that just by the nature of the function will need to be bigger than 120 square feet. I think that it will be very important as we go through this, just to make sure that we still have all of our staff accounted for, and that we have the appropriate adjacencies and flow, and, focus on, where the public goes the most, which really is the town clerk. I've been watching the town clerk's office over the last couple of days, and with all the dog licensing and parking permits and census, and then what they do with the elections and all of that. I mean, that really is the heart of our function. So I think that's going to have to be taken into account. But obviously, as Jeff puts this together, we'll have our opportunities to review the adjacencies and the flow and all of that. So
Yeah, hence the word draft documents. All right, Jeff, anything else that you need from us at this point for guidance, or is that enough to keep you moving forward?
I think that's enough to keep me moving. Like I said, I'd like to get an early version of this off to you guys as soon as possible.
Okay.
But I think we ought to develop an overall, or at least update the schedule you previously did, Bob, recognizing where we're starting and knowing
Right.
that it's going to be a lot less time than we had anticipated. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page as to when you need the cost estimate prior to town meeting, and I can back everything else back into that. So should I take the prior schedule you did and make my own update to that, or do you want to?
Yeah, I think that the contractor side of me says we still want to try to hit the town meeting in April. And how do we do that? Now, if we can't do that, so be it. But if we say we'll do the fall town meeting, you know what, we'll just take the 7 months we need. We'll find a way to do it over 7 months. So I think if you can adjust the action items on that schedule, but still land where that the end of March, we need to have a certain, dollar value, so that for ballots and insertion in town meeting for a warrant article. I think we should try to hit that until it becomes clear that we really just don't have the ability to hit it. But I think that would be my thought. Let me
That
stop
sounds
there.
good.
Okay. John, what are your thoughts on that? You want to try to stick to town meeting and?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Dana, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I totally, you're spot on when you say if we push it out to like the fall, then we're going to use all that time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely think that we should try and stick with the springtime, April, May timeframe thing if we can,
Okay. Eric, any thoughts on that?
No, I'm in agreement with what's said.
Okay. And Martha, any other thoughts on this?
no.
Okay. All right, Jeff, I think you've got your marching orders. So if you could amend the schedule and let us know, are you thinking you're going to get some draft floor plans back out to us before the next meeting?
You meet in 2 weeks?
Well, you know what? We haven't decided whether we're going to meet in 2 weeks, or I don't know if we're at a point now where the OPM is going to be handled by procurement, and that's going to be a few weeks to get it advertised and wrapped up. And I don't see that really happening much before beginning of March, looking at, adding an OPM to the team. Borings are going to be done, looks like, and I'll get into that towards the end of this week. I think one of our item 9 on the agenda, or 8, is next meeting date. But one way I'll give that some thought, whether we just kick this out another 30 days to give a chance to have something more actionable, or we do this every 2 weeks. And I'm open.
Well, let me make a suggestion that you tentatively set a meeting for 2 weeks. We'll be attempting to get you something before then, which I don't see a problem doing. And then if you decide you'd rather have sort of a technical discussion between you, me, and Martha or something like that, then you can postpone your meeting. But what I really want to do is put the schedule together and show you the schedule,
All right.
because that may dictate whether you really ought to meet for other reasons.
Okay. I mean, why don't we hold the thought and we can meet every 2 weeks and see what everyone thinks? And if it requires weekly meetings for a relatively, for a month or two to be able to fast track this, then I think the committee will, I think long as we're meeting at 7:30 in the morning and not 7:30 at night, we will be able to accommodate that, but, okay. All right, anything else before we move on to?
On the schedule, Jeff, when Jeff revises the schedule, can he send that out to us ahead of time so that we can take a look at it?
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
go into a meeting packet, Dana.
Well, I'm just saying, let's say like the reason why I'm saying this is the 23rd, I'm gonna be coming back from out of the country on the evening of the 23rd. So the morning of the 24th, I'm assuming would be when we would schedule the next one if we were gonna do it in 2 weeks. That would be the same day as the select board meeting. Is that what you would plan?
No, I think what we'll do is we'll just, when we get to tab 8, we'll just decide, look at our calendars, whether it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday morning. I mean, I think it's going to be where we have a quorum of members.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yep.
And Jeff, I think that, again, to follow up on your point, Dana, I'm always going to include and update the meeting packet with the latest documents because it just becomes part of the record. But Jeff, feel free to send out any updated schedules or SKs to this entire email list. And
Yeah,
I'll,
sure.
okay. And that way
Yep.
everyone will get the same step real time. The key is we can't be responding to a group email. That's just the key, that we don't want to have deliberations inadvertently.
Yeah, I'll put the schedule together as quickly as possible this week and send it out to you guys.
Okay.
Based on that information. Can I just have a recap? Because I tried to write the numbers down as you were saying them, but I just wanted to just get a recap on the square footage of the
Okay.
rooms that you mentioned.
Yeah, so department heads, a single office is 120 square feet. Admin, part-time employees, inspectors that are not in offices 8 hours, 64 square feet. Offices that are going to be a shared office where a department head and an admin are going to be in the same office, 180 square feet. And your basic cube is going to be the 8x8, 64 square feet.
Okay, great.
And I think what the Tracy and Martha will be able to assist on is what may be a single office today may need to be expanded to have an assistant in it. And that could be incorporated in today's design to meet future needs.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Bob.
Yes, Dana.
Okay, we talked a little bit at the last meeting, and Martha, I can sense that you've got some symptoms of your COVID, I think.
I think it's the meeting, the way I'm running the meeting.
Maybe. But
making her ill.
two things we talked about last time, and that was the DPW and the dog officer. Have we determined whether they're going to be moving into the new town hall, or are we gonna do something like, for example, and believe me, I'm just throwing stuff out here. I'm not trying to even have an opinion about this, but like the DPW, have we considered leaving the DPW in the DPW building, or are they indeed going to go into the new town hall? Have we talked about that?
I think
Look at
that's
you.
yeah,
You look
no,
shocked.
I think that it's all still kind of work in progress.
Okay.
And I think we have the programming needs, and we have a building size, and we have office size parameters. So I think that, at the end of the day, we should be looking at that we're going to have a minimum of 4 or 5 cubicles that are unassigned.
Okay.
And that somebody coming in, whether it's the DPW chief, if he doesn't have an office at town hall, his admin will certainly be in town hall. I know that Jim Surratt does have an office at his facility, but I think those are the refinements that we kind of back into, but having 4 stations that are unassigned for future use or for hotel space is going to be part of the design.
Right,
Okay.
and just if I may add, I mean, Tracy and I had factored that in, that there were certain positions such as the animal control officer, harbor master, and
Right.
a couple of others that are part-time, and the inspectors, the gas inspector and the electrical inspector. They're there on a, you know, part-time occasional basis so that we could, you know, use cubicles for them to come in and park themselves and do their work. I think, Dana, to your bigger question, you know, these are some of the decisions that will have to be made as we review the program. A program is always, you know, initially, as Bob said, it's the ideal. You know, this is what we think we need for optimum functioning. But, you know, real life always comes into it, and then there's a give and take. So as we see, you know, what you know, what shakes out in the next plans that Jeff puts together, then, you know, we'll have to be making some decisions about certain, you know, locations for certain positions. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I just was kind of throwing that out there because this is the first time that, like, Jeff, I think, has been on board with the current committee. And I just, you know, those are things we've talked about in the past, and I just wanted to bring them up. That's all.
Yep. I think everything is a starting point to Martha's comments, which is the programming needs, the approximate building size, and the, you know, projected office staff size. And we're not going to under design a building because we need to be at 10,000 square feet. If it needs to be at 10,000 plus, and we've stayed within these you know, conservative parameters, then so be it. I mean, it all shakes out at the end of the day. Got to have a seat for everybody, and we got to be able to have 20 years of future growth, you know, whatever that may be. But all right, any other questions on this before we move on to tab 4? Eric, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm anxious to see Jeff's schedule and understand how the process is going to unfold.
Well, you know, architects are great at schedule and great at drawings. And whether
Yep.
whether the contractor or the committee can meet them, you know what? It's that's the
It'll look great on paper.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? Everything is all pretty drawings. Okay, John, any other questions on this matter?
No, well, all set. Just don't ask the superintendent about architects, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we always have a team effort in the town of Newbury, and you know what? We have successful projects. Martha, any final comments before we move on to tab 4?
No, all set.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, tab 4. So while while the rest of you are all enjoying the holidays or up skiing or whatever, we had our DPW superintendent initiating and undertaking digging of test holes at town hall. So this was a memo to the file that I had prepared, and unlike 7 Morgan Ave, we actually had material that was far more suitable. So test hole, if we go to the last page, I marked, let's see here. Okay, so you're going to see on this plan test holes in borings. Oh, actually, you know what? That's going to be a next plan. Okay, so basically the test holes were performed in the furthest corner abutting the fire department. So test hole number 3 was in the back rear corner. So if you're familiar with town hall, looking at it from High Road, this would be looking at the far left-hand corner, just in front of the dumpsters. And we had a geotechnical engineer on site. And so we basically had marine clay, or that Boston blue clay, down to a depth of about 7 feet. And then we went into what the engineer called marine sand, which was just a kind of a fine silty type sand, to a depth of 10 foot. And no groundwater was present on test hole number 3. On test hole number 2, this would have been in front of the generator pad in that area there on Morgan Ave. And we went down to about a depth of 11 feet. We didn't break out of the marine clay, layer, but we did start to get groundwater at about a depth of 8 feet. Now, I guess we got to remember the elevation difference from test hole 3 to test hole 2 is that the elevation of the back of the building. So that was actually encouraging for me, not to have a lot of organics down. Yes.
So this is Eric. 2 things. The 8 feet is approximately the same as we saw on the police station lot, absence the layer of ash and
Yeah, I think
that was there.
I think that's exactly right, Eric.
Yeah.
But we were out of all that unsuitable fill, and so let me stop there. That gives you where we did the test holes, and you got the site plan when we marked it. Jeff prepared. We have new locations for the boring, which is the next tab, and that will give us, certainly the information we need to design a foundation system.
All right, so those are all basically within where we anticipate the footprint of the building.
Yeah, well, these are actually the furthest corners.
Yeah, that's what.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I go to the next tab, so let me stop there. Any questions? I think this is pretty kind of self-explanatory. Good news rather than continuation of bad soils.
I have 1 question.
Yep.
In the 3 test holes, the 4th corner, which would have been in the front parking lot of the town hall, just thinking that if the building was positioned slightly forward or holding the Morgan line Ave, that the previous plans that were quickly drawn up by Jeff show the parking arrangement coming through where the old trailers used to be, and then coming across the back parking lot. So is the 3 holes do we feel that the 3 holes represent consistency across the site? And if yes, then that's great.
Yeah, we only did the 2 rear corners. The 3rd hole that we were going to do was kind of on the high road driveway side that went down to the back of the fire station. But it's also an area where we had the force main
Right.
for the sewer, and we just felt that we had already located the 4 boring locations, and we, what it is, I think this just gives us a, not as bad as 7 Morgan Ave, and where when I go to the next tab, Eric, you'll see the 4 locations that were marked up by McPhail.
All right, so I'm looking at that right now. It looks like boring number 1 is actually right where our old septic system was.
Right. So let's do this. Let's move on to tab 5. I think that'll be all right. And on tab 5, the town has issued a PO to a New England boring contractors. They provided a quote, and they're looking at doing this work Thursday, Friday, weather permitting. If you go to page, I guess 83, last page of the packet, there's 4 boring locations. 2 are kind of in the raised where the septic system was, between the building and the retention wall. on the, I don't know, is that the westerly side of the, on the left side of Town Hall facing it, and then 2 borings. One is going to be, well, they're self-explanatory, I guess. So let me stop there. Anyone have any comments on this? Jeff, you're fine with the boring locations on this?
Yep, we're good with them.
Okay. So, yeah, this plan gives you the 2 test holes, that we dug, 2 and test hole 3. And the borings are just really getting closer to the footprint of the building.
You're right.
So any questions on this? Martha, any questions on tab 5 with the boring?
No,
Okay, John Keller, any questions?
No, not at all.
Okay, Dana, any
I
questions?
guess the only question I have is boring, I mean, I'm sorry, that's a boring, never mind. I was looking at the test holes. The starting, because you measured from the surface, I'm assuming, the starting elevations of the test holes, were they relatively the same? Because you talked about the sand and not getting into the sand. I think it was on test hole number 2. Was that because the elevation that you started at was higher?
No, actually, you would think elevation 3, picture elevation 3 is about 8 feet above Morgan Ave, just to give you about a, and test hole number 2 was at Morgan Ave. So we actually went down 11 feet further than test hole 3.
Gotcha.
And we were still
Okay, yep.
in that Boston clay
Yep,
and groundwater.
thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think Jeff gave us the whole subsurface exploration. So, I mean, we went down as far as the town machine would go. The requirements is we're going to be drilling down between 20 and 30 feet. And it's going to be a minimum 5 to 10 feet into natural inorganic soils, whichever we first occur. So Jeff, a question for Jeff. This Boston clay, is that suitable bearing for a foundation?
Hi, sorry, trying to find my unmute button. The clay is just like the police station, which usually means that there's going to be a ground improvement program
Okay.
required.
So
Now-
more into the geopiers, depending. on the
Yeah,
depth.
yeah, and I know we were trying to avoid that with town hall if we could, just to get out of the mess that kind of got into things over at the police station site. But I think, Bob, in our prior conversation about this, we sort of were okay with doing it under the building and trying to get away from doing it under the parking, which is really where the
Right.
problems happened at police. So if we can avoid supporting the ground under parking and just the building, I think we are in fine shape. It's not an unusual requirement for projects these days.
Okay. No, I think that it's interesting. One of the leftover geopiers that was on the original test, you know how they come in and they put so many piers in and then they do the kind of the certification test. One of them was in the parking lot after the fact. And one thing that the general contractor mentioned, he said, the geopiers in the parking lot sometimes just wind up becoming mushrooms in the parking lot, where that the geopiers are going to stay at the same elevation. But the ongoing compaction of organics, and that played out. So I think that's the approach, I guess is what I'm saying. Take care of the building, take care of permanent structures, but then just anticipate if we're going to have any compaction, what that may be and incorporate it into the plan. Okay, anything else? You saw the quote. This is scheduled for Thursday. We're trying to get it all done in one day, whether that's possible or not, but we've got 2 days of budget. And I think that will give us provide some invaluable information to Jeff and his team early on. And give us some guidance on that, but, all right, I'm gonna stop there. Martha, any comments on?
No, I mean, I think it's critical to get that information now so that we really know what we're dealing with. Question, can they, I was looking at the weather for another purpose last night. Looks like it might be raining on Thursday. Can they still go ahead in the rain, or what kind of conditions do they need?
I think they have raincoats and boots and they're pretty used to being, I think
So they're
it's
good.
freezing rain, freezing snow might be,
Yeah.
no, I don't think that's going to be an issue, to be honest.
Good, so
agree.
they should be good to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
agree.
All right, anything else, Martha?
No,
Okay, John Keller, any?
No, I'm cool. I've done plenty of drilling in the wet weather.
Yep. Yeah. I would. They're gonna be spoiled on this, John, because they're gonna be on pavement 90% of the time, which is usually you're out in the woods
Wow.
somewhere.
Do we get a discount for that?
They were very aggressive on their pricing.
Good.
Jeff Shaw negotiated a great deal for us. Dana, any comments on borings?
Who's gonna be there? Like, you want me to be there, or am I supposed to be there, or?
I mean, basically what happens is I'll probably stop by. It gets to be like watching paint dry.
Right, right,
Uh,
yeah,
And what will happen is we'll have one of Jeff's geotechnical engineer will have a a person on site that will be watching the process, analyzing, and there'll be logs that are generated. I mean, if you've never seen it done, Dana, stop by.
what do you think a good time frame? Are they gonna, like, when are they gonna be like finishing up, or?
Yeah, I think that their normal time frame is probably going to be 7:30 to 3, something
Yeah.
like that. And I mean, I would get there after probably around 10 o'clock. This being they're coming in, they're mobilizing, they're got to get set up, and I think they'd actually be drilling by 10 o'clock. So,
Okay,
all right. All right, anything else on this, Eric?
All good. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, I have no comments. Jeff Shaw, anything else before we move on to citizens' comments?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have not the only communications I've received were incorporated into the meeting packet. Nothing of interest. A couple of housekeeping emails back and forth between Tracy regarding procuring of the boring company and on the OPM proposal. All right, at this point, why don't we open this up to citizens' comment? Do we still have Bill on the line?
yes, he's here.
Hey, Bill, good morning.
Good morning. Listen, I just want to tell the team that I read a couple of your minutes of your meetings, and participating with you and listening to you folks this morning solidifies my opinion that the town could not have made a better decision to have this core team that delivered the police station work on this very important project. So my heartfelt thanks to all of you.
Well, thank you for that, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any specific questions, Bill, on the process or?
No, my questions at this point would be too naive. I default to the experts.
Well, I think we have a great team on the committee. The level of expertise that both Eric and John bring, and Martha is extraordinary. And unfortunately, most towns don't have that kind of a bench of experience to fill these committees. I think as much as we can be a pain in Jeff Shaw's ass, he appreciates having the expertise, so we at least speak the same language. But, okay, anything else, Bill?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Bill. All right, team, next meeting date. Why don't we get out our calendars? So Jeff, you were talking, keeping us kind of on a 2-week schedule. Dana, I'm out of town the 17th to the 23rd. You're out of town to the 24th, Dana?
Yeah, I'm out of town when you're out of town. The 16th to the 23rd, I'm out
All
of
right,
town.
where are we going? Where we
I'm going to Aruba.
Oh, well, I'm not going quite that far, so I'm going west. How does the 25th, Wednesday, the 25th work for everybody at the same time? Martha, will that work for you?
There's a chance that I may need to be out in Reno at that point.
Okay.
It's still weather dependent. It'll be 4:30 in the morning out there.
Oh, yeah,
So
no.
I can do it if that's what the committee decides on.
Yeah, this is gonna be a placeholder, I think, for the moment.
Hey, Martha, I can give you some advice on that. Being an airline pilot, just don't acclimate to the local time zone and you'll be fine.
I know.
Yeah, you'll be eating dinner at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's still very much in flux, depending on advice I'm given. So, yeah, whatever.
Okay, so 125 is a maybe for Martha. John Keller, how does 125 work for you?
Yeah, that works fine.
Okay, Eric, how does it work for you?
I have a standing 8 a.m. meeting on every Wednesday.
Okay, how does the 26th work? Does that work okay? I mean,
That works better for me. Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
that works for me on the 26th also.
okay. Dana, does the 26th work for you?
Yeah, the 26th is good for me.
Martha, you're probably in the same predicament, whether it's,
Yeah, same issue. If I do this, I'll be gone from the 22nd through the 26th, but you know,
Okay.
that's,
yeah, no.
we'll make
that-
it work if that needs to happen. So,
Okay, Jeff Shaw, does the 26th work for you?
Yep, I'm good with that.
All right, well, why don't we do this? Let's, our next meeting date will be January 26th, 2023. Now, if we do that, do we want to schedule another meeting for February 7th, which would be back on a Tuesday? Now, we can, if we're not ready for the 27th, excuse me, for the 26th, we'll have the 7th already scheduled, which is the first Tuesday of February. So let's see, there's February, how does Tuesday, February 7th work for everybody?
That's good for
Martha?
me.
Okay. Same, you're in flex, Martha, so.
I'm in flux, but yeah,
Yeah.
right now it should be good.
Okay, John Keller,
Yeah, that works.
Dana,
Yep, that'll work.
Eric,
I have a 7 to 8
on this,
on the 7th.
okay, what about the 6th or the 8th? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's,
The 6th.
6th would be a Monday.
6 works for this right now, Mondays and Thursdays at 7:30, 7 work.
Okay. All right, team, how does Monday, February 6th work? John Keller,
That works.
Dana?
Yeah, that'll work for me.
Okay, that works for you, Eric? Martha?
Yes.
That can work for you if,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that can work.
okay, and it works for me. Jeff Shaw, does 2/6 work for you?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. All right, team, so our next 2 meetings will be January 26th and February 6th. And that's all I have. So why don't I go around for final words? Martha, any final comments you want to add to this meeting?
No, all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Martha. John Keller, any final comments you want to add?
No, just excited to see how the borings come out. So, all set.
Great. Dana, how about yourself? Any comments before we
No,
wrap up?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Eric, any final comments?
No final comments. Thank you.
Okay, and I have none. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, all those in favor, roll call vote. Martha,
Yes.
John Keller,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes. Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye now.
Have a nice trip,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.